Here's a throw by Merton. It is a collision at the plate. And Pierzynski not only bangs into Barrett, bangs onto the plate, and here they go.
Hello again, everyone, and welcome into this episode of the Crosstown Baseball Podcast. We have a very exciting trade deadline special here for this episode, a very active trade deadline. So let's get right to it. And we will start this week with the White Sox. So I will turn it over to Matt to discuss everything that they did today on trade deadline day.
Yeah, I mean, boy, you and I were chatting a little bit before recording, and yeah, I mean, I was saying I have not been on Twitter that much since it was called Twitter. Today was a busy day. It's been a busy few days. I mean, before we get into the trade deadline stuff, let me just start with, as you know, last recording, I was pretty down on the White Sox in the Yankee series because I believe they had lost the first two and were losing 4-0. That was the craziest comeback I have ever seen. That Game 3 against the Yankees. I don't know how much you saw, Kevin, but like, I mean, listen, the White Sox did great in coming back. There was a 2-run homer by Antonacci, and then a game-tying home run by Murakami, which was awesome. And then extra innings. Apparently, the Yankees, I don't remember what the record is, but it's something like 1-9 or something crazy in extra innings. Their backup catcher, Sanchez, made the worst decision of all time. The Yankees were about to win the game. It was 2 outs in the bottom of I think it was the 10th or the 11th. I don't remember which one. Runner at third, and they had 2 strikes on whoever the hitter was, and Sanchez throws to third to try to get the runner, and errant throw, and Murakami scores for the tying run, and the Sox ended up winning that game. I mean, just like the dumbest decision I've ever seen a major league catcher do. And I went on the Yankees subreddit afterwards just to like kind of see, and they were pissed off about it. And then the Sox, once again, the next day, they had a little bit of a late comeback, tied the game, and won in extras as well. So that was awesome. And then they won 2-3 against the Rays at home. The Rays are the best home team in Major League Baseball. We only gave up 3 runs in 3 games to the Tampa Bay Rays, and while scoring like something like 13 or something even more. It just unbelievably good series. The one game we lost was 1-0. That was really awesome. So then going into the trade deadline, you're feeling pretty good about things. So, I mean, I'll preface this by saying I think they had a good trade deadline, not a amazing trade deadline. I think they filled a couple holes. I think they could have done more. That being said, I'm happy. I don't want to be a prospect hugger. You know, I feel like for a long time, like someone like the Baltimore Orioles were prospect huggers, and now they kind of just missed their window, and now they're sellers. The big one, we got Luis Castillo from the Mariners. I like this trade. We gave up Sir Anthony Dominguez. Dominguez has just not been good for us this year. It's just, I think it's a change of scenery trade for both of them. Castillo has been pretty decent since May. His numbers, I think, are worse because he was really bad to start the year. But he's had success as recently as last year. So I like it. He's also a veteran arm with playoff experience going into a rotation that has no veteran presence, no playoff experience. Like it's a good trade. I liked it. We gave up Boston Smith for him. He is a catching prospect. He has been having a really good season at AAA. With Kyle Teal and, hell, now Joey Bart, we'll get to him. Like, and even Edgar Caro still being young. Like, I don't think it was a big deal to give him away. I enjoyed that trade. We acquired I don't even know how to pronounce Hoskar Brauzobin.
About right.
My apologies.
I have no
my
idea
apologies if I'm butchering that. From the Mets. Really great pickup there. He has been rock solid for the Mets this year, and he's one of the only rock solid guys for the Mets this year. So we got a starter and we got some much needed bullpen help. We did acquire a catcher in the name of Joey Bart, who, do you remember, he was supposed to be the next big thing, like the next Buster Posey for the Giants.
Yeah.
And that just never happened. So I know he's been bouncing around a little bit. It's an underwhelming
This is his third team this year.
That's wild. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an underwhelming acquisition, but our catching has been so bad with Kyle Teal out that he's still an upgrade. So we sent down Edgar Caro today to AAA, so it's going to be Joey Bart and Drew Romo as our two catchers for the time being until Teal can come back. Chris Getz just went on record saying September 1st is like the rough estimate right now. So really Teal could be back within 4 weeks. So that would be awesome if that can happen. And then the last guy we acquired is Brenton Doyle from the Colorado Rockies to be an outfielder. This one is a little weird to me. We designated for assignment Everson Pereira to make room for Doyle. Now, Doyle is a better defender for sure. And he has been good in the past. I think he, with 2024, he had a really, really good year and he's won a Gold Glove and everything. Being said, like, Pereira has the better bat right now. So I guess we're just prioritizing defense. I don't hate it, but, it's kind of hard to see Pereira go a little bit. Eric Fetty is going to move to the bullpen with the acquisition of Luis Castillo. Fetty's actually been really decent the last month or so out of the rotation. Sometimes he gets an opener, sometimes he doesn't. We'll see. I'm Noah Schultz had a decent start the other day. Or I think he had an opener. I think Jordan Hicks started for him and then he had a really good game after that. So it wouldn't surprise me if Schultz eventually, if he has a rough outing or two, if Fetty has to move back to the rotation. But yeah, so goodbye, Sir Anthony Dominguez. Goodbye, Nolan Jones, who's our outfield prospect, and goodbye, Boston Smith. They went for Castillo. We got rid of Gabe Davis and Zach Franklin, and then the one for Doyle, Mason Adams was kind of a decent prospect to give up for a defense first outfielder. So we'll see how that works out. That's the one I'm not extremely convinced about. And I hope, someone said maybe Doyle is going to be this year's Jeff Blum of the trade deadline for the 2026 White Sox, like Jeff Blum was for the 2005 White Sox, the underwhelming trade acquisition at the deadline who pretty much wins the World Series for you.
Yeah, you never know.
You never know. Jeff Blum is immortalized at Wright Field as part of that championship statue. It's unbelievable. He played for the White Sox for 2 months.
That's crazy. That's so crazy to think about.
And of course, ironically, he is like more known as an Astro because I believe he still does color commentary for the Astros. So the team that he helped beat in the World Series.
And he was acquired from.
Yes. So, and then we traded Duncan DeVitt away for Joey Bart. Literally, we gave up nothing because we designated him for assignment today. So we pretty much got Joey Bart for nothing. So that's a nice deal. I'm feeling, I guess I would be feeling whelmed would be the right response. Not overwhelmed by the talent, but not underwhelmed. Chris Getz did not sit on his phone. He was not this year's Twinkle Dee and Twinkle Dumb, as our friend Bruce Levine would say. I'm feeling decent that they've already had a good team. We are 3 up of the Guardians. Now we'll talk about the rest of the AL Central, but the only reason to feel a little bit disappointed, in my opinion, is because the rest of the Central, the Guardians and the Twins, got better. Like, I don't know how the Guardians pulled off that last minute trade for whoever the Nationals ace was.
Foster Griffin.
Yeah, that wasn't great to see for me. So, but right now we're 3 up on them. We're playing really good baseball. I'm feeling good. This week might be a little tricky though. First of all, we're going to Boston to face the Red Sox, who I mean, are probably still the hottest team in the league right now. They're not on their, 13 game win streak anymore, thank God, but like they're still really good. And then we are going to be hosting the Guardians this weekend. So that's going to be a very big series for the White Sox. And I hope it goes well. It's going to be a stretch, I'm sure. But again, I'm feeling pretty good. There's been worse trade deadlines, there's been better trade deadlines, and I think this team is still good enough on paper, and I think the improvements that gets made are good acquisitions. And I also don't think we gave up too much for the acquisitions we did get. So I think I'm feeling okay. So I am curious to see how you're feeling about the Cubs, Kevin, because I think they had they you and I were texting pretty much the last couple days, and you would text me that that you guys got Kevin Gossman and Clay Holmes, and I think I just replied with a certain 4-letter word, and said I was hoping the Sox would get him. So yeah, I'm interested to hear what your thoughts are from this week.
Yeah, yeah. I'm very happy at this point. I was a little concerned because it seemed like they weren't doing much the first part of the day. Then all of a sudden, these trades just kept coming in left and right. So the Cubs very active at the trade deadline this year, acquiring Kevin Gossman, which was Sunday or yesterday as of this recording, and then on the actual trade deadline day on Monday. They acquired Braxton Garrett from the Miami Marlins, Ryan Zefferjohn from the Los Angeles Angels, and Clay Holmes and Tyrone Taylor from the New York Mets. So the Cubs going shopping for pitching, it seems like, which is obviously a huge need for them this year, given all of the injuries. But luckily, there should be some reinforcements coming soon on that front. I'll get to that in a second. But the Cubs, this is arguably the most active trade deadline I can ever recall. I don't ever remember the Cubs acquiring 5 players at one
Yeah,
trade deadline.
yeah. I'm trying to think of like prior trade deadlines for both teams where it's been so active. I think there's been bigger names. I mean, I'm going back 20 something years, but like I remember the Cubs acquiring like Nomar Garcia Parra at the
Right.
trade deadline, and the White Sox getting Jake Peavy and people like that. But like the amount of players, yeah. And also, by the way, I think because you texted me, there was about a 10-minute period where we thought the Cubs were getting Reed Detmers, and then that
Yeah.
turned out to not be the case, and then nobody got him.
Yeah,
So
he ended up staying put. It looked like he
not
was
sure what
going to the
happened there.
Cubs. Yeah, maybe there was a trade veto or something. I have no idea. I heard Jacob DeGrom's name thrown out there. It looks like he vetoed a trade because he has a full
Nathan
no trade.
Evaldi too, also with the Rangers, vetoed a trade. Apparently, we don't know to what team, and we don't know what team to Degrom. But like, yeah, it's some guys did not want to move.
Yeah, and I mean, like for them, it kind of makes sense. I mean, they're in a state with no state income tax, so I'm sure that does make a difference for them a little bit.
Yeah.
And depending on who they go to. But yeah, I mean, a really good deadline for the Cubs. Obviously, they fortified the rotation with Kevin Gossman and Clay Holmes. Gossman hasn't been having the greatest season, but he does have that playoff experience. He probably slots in as a game one starter in the playoffs, especially given who knows what the rotation will look like by that point. Um, so Gaussman slots into the number one slot. He might debut this week against the Blue Jays.
Well, and
Um,
then I know you're going to get to it, but like, there's a chance that the recent departed Jameson Talion will pitch against the Cubs
yes, that
against
is possible.
Gaussman.
Yes, that was another trade that the Cubs made this week. They traded Jameson Taillon to the Blue Jays for the infamous PTBNL, the player to be named later, or cash, after he was designated for assignment last week. The Blue Jays do come to Wrigley this Thursday for one game, as it is a makeup from earlier this season. So it is possible that we see Jameson Taillon of the Blue Jays versus Kevin Gausman of the Cubs in
It's
that game.
wild.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be pretty crazy. These other guys I don't know much about Braxton Garrett. He looks like a younger, unproven. I think it's one of those cases that they see something in him that they think they can fix. He doesn't have quite uh, the numbers that you would want to see, but obviously any arm is a good arm at this point, as long as they can get it over the plate somewhat. Ryan Zefferjon, definitely the better of the two relievers that were acquired today by the Cubs. He's been having a really good season for the Angels. Definitely cost them the most two of these trades, as one of the players going on the other way was catcher slash DH Moises Ballesteros. He was looking pretty good at certain points this season. Definitely thought he could be developing into a really solid hitter. Then he cooled off as the year went on, ended up getting sent down to AAA. So unfortunately, he goes the other way in that deal. So I guess the Cubs don't really see a long-term future with him, the organization. Also
That one
traded,
surprised me. I'm gonna admit that one.
yeah,
When I saw his name, and like maybe it wouldn't have surprised me if it was for Gausman or Clay Holmes, like, but for Zephyr John, that surprised me. I think a lot of people are saying the Angels did very well there.
yeah, it seems like it. I'm a bit surprised that they moved on from Ballesteros already. Like he definitely showed flashes that he could be a really solid everyday, maybe designated hitter more than a catcher. But we wish him luck as he
Yeah.
moves on to the Angels. And also going to the Angels, Mason McGuire. And yes, he is the son of former St. Louis Cardinals slugger Mark McGuire. So he goes back to where he is from. He grew up in Orange County, California. So he goes to his hometown team in the Angels. And then later on in the day, the Cubs acquiring Clay Holmes and Tyrone Taylor from the Mets. In exchange, Jefferson Rojas, third baseman, the number two prospect in the Cubs system, gets traded away for Holmes and Taylor. Definitely a big price to pay. They were pretty high on Rojas, but they also really don't have a place for him right now with Bregman holding down third. So yeah, so the Cubs definitely seem to improve the rotation today. Over the past week, they won 3 of 4 at the Cardinals. You could really make an argument that they should have swept that series. They did come back in the game they lost. P. Crow Armstrong hit a home run late to put them up ahead, and then they lost. I believe that was in the bottom of the ninth. Um, against the Cardinals. That was the same day. That was the same day that the White Sox came back. The White Sox came back and the Cubs blew it on
Yeah.
the
Well,
same evening.
we stole a little life force, I guess.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. So they win 3 out of 4 down in St. Louis. The Cardinals still struggling as we move into the dog days of summer here. And they're struggling a bit down the stretch. And then they lost 2 of 3 to the Yankees. Those 2 games they lost, I mean, they could have easily won those games as well. They lost one of them 2-0 and the other one 2-1. But, a good showing last week for the Cubs. This week, a pretty busy week as they host the Dodgers, which is currently underway at Wrigley Field, and
Is
obviously,
Google going to make his debut? I wonder.
Scooble. It looks like Tarek Skubal will make his debut on Tuesday at Wrigley Field, so all eyes will be on that.
Wow.
Should be a good game, and then Thursday, the Blue Jays come into town for that 1 game makeup from earlier this season, and then the Cubs will travel to Kansas City this weekend to take on the Royals.
Well,
So.
yeah, everything's up to date in Kansas City, Kevin. So we'll see if the Cubs are.
Yeah.
Musical theater reference on a baseball podcast that Kevin clearly doesn't get. It's fine.
I was gonna say I did not get that. Sorry, I apologize.
Trying to get you cultured, Kevin.
I
Trying to get
know.
you cultured. I'm. It's funny. I'm like noticing the differences between the trade deadlines for both teams, and it's because both teams are as we've talked about a million times, they're both competitive for the first time in 20 years, pretty much at the same time. But they're in two different eras of their competitiveness. The Cubs window is open. The Cubs have World Series aspirations. So it makes sense that they are not prospect hogging. They are trading away prospects for players that they know can make them compete now. Of course, the White Sox are competitive, but nobody, including me, expected them to be competitive.
Right.
So Chris Getz is rightfully thinking still about the future because, listen, I could be wrong. If I'm wrong about them not having a chance to win the World Series, it would be the greatest thing I was ever wrong about in my life. But I really don't think they're going to win the World Series. So I don't want to trade Billy Carlson, away, who's one of our top prospects. I don't want to give up on Noah Schultz yet. I don't want to give up on Hagen Smith yet. So I'm happy with both teams. I think both teams did what they needed to do at this trade deadline. The Cubs just had a little bit more of exciting, a bit of more exciting day because of where they're at in their competitive window. Also, the Cubs are in a tougher division, so they have to make a little more splash, a few more splashy moves. I know, 6.5 games of the Brewers is a lot of ground to make up against a really good team.
Yeah. And they're still within that striking distance, but they need to start making up ground like very quickly if they want to catch them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yes, very active. And it looks like Edward Cabrera, just one note here, will be making his next rehab start on August 5th, which is this Wednesday. It looks like Daniel Palencia will also appear in that game, is what they're saying. So the Cubs should be getting another starter and their closer back soon, hopefully. And some other guys are on the mend as well. The injury updates for them, that list is so long, it's like actually insane. It's like, it's crazy when you look at it. It's like, wow, they have had a ton of injuries this season. So it's good to see them bring in some reinforcements. It definitely makes it so that those guys can take their time getting back, hopefully. So at this point, we'll move on to the rest of MLB now. And as we've already kind of alluded to, it was a very, very active trade deadline all around. It looks like, I would say, the winners of this deadline, it's hard to argue that the Guardians did not have an amazing deadline. Acquiring, yeah.
That was tough to see, and everyone's saying how they didn't. I mean, I'm not going to pretend as we go through all these teams to like know their prospects in and out and like who's ranked high and what's not. But so just the reactions that I was reading about, Guardians fans are very happy with this trade. They're ecstatic. And
which one? They made 3.
Oh, I was talking about with the Nationals, the Foster Griffin.
Foster Griffin, yeah.
Because I think that was the big surprise at the very end of the trade deadline. Because apparently these prospects they gave up are decent, but not anything that you would have expected to maybe get this young, all-star.
I'm very surprised by how little the Brewers did. They made one trade, and it was for Dustin May, and who was the other guy? I'm looking. Oh, here we go. Dustin May and Jojo Romero.
They also got
the Cardinals.
Antonio Senzella.
Oh yeah, that they did acquire Antonio Senzatella too. But I was expecting the Brewers to do a little bit more.
I mean, listen, they are as we've said many times, they're perennial contenders. They have by far the best pitching lab and analytics, in the game, pretty much, probably up there with like Tampa Bay Rays. And so like they know who they want to hang on to. And my guess is that some prices were just too high. I would have loved to see them get Skirble from the Tigers. I think it could have been another CC Sabathia situation. I think it could have been really, really cool. Yeah, we should probably talk about Skirble going to the Dodgers because that is kind of the big prize. Yeah.
and the effect that that's going to have on baseball as a whole.
So I am not a conspiracy theorist, and I don't think this is actually what happened. But the game has gotten to the point that people are like openly talking about collusion of the Tigers accepting a lesser trade from the Dodgers because they want to make the Dodgers villains because they want the fans to be on the side of a salary cap and blah 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 blah. First of all, the Dodgers always seem to have these prospects no one's heard of that are all of a sudden like really good, high ranking prospects. I don't know where they come from because they don't draft high. They're always buyers, not sellers. So like I don't know where the hell these guys come from. And I don't I don't know like exactly what other teams were offering, but from what a lot of people have said is that there may have been other offers from other teams like the Brewers, like Tampa, that sound at least better on paper than this return did from the Dodgers. But maybe it's the fact that they're coming from the Dodgers that gets executives excited. I don't know.
Right. I mean, there's trades like that all the time. Look at Yordan Alvarez. He was signed by the Dodgers and traded as like a very young prospect. I don't think he hadn't even played a professional game yet, and they traded him. Look at Fernando Tatis with the White Sox.
Do we have to?
Of course we do. I have to bring that up. But you're right. I mean, it happens all the time. These guys get traded. You're like, oh, I have no idea who that guy is. And then a few years from now, it's like, oh, this guy is actually really good. But honestly, I'm glad to see that there was a lot of activity. I think it's good for the game that look at how many teams ended up being buyers that we thought were going to be sellers potentially. Like this was.
I was shocked. Like the Twins were buyers. The Blue Jays got Soriano from the Angels, but then also traded Gausman. So I mean, like they're thinking about 2027 and beyond more than just 2026. But like, yeah, it was wild to see what teams were actually active.
The Rays getting Freddie Peralta. Let's see, what are some other big ones?
Yankees got Luis Garcia Jr. from
the Pirates got Kirby Yates.
Yeah.
The Phillies get Brooks Raley. I mean, the Dalton Varsho switched dugouts from the Blue Jays to the Astros because the Blue Jays are in Houston right now.
I love when that happens.
Yeah, I do too. I also love when that happens.
Twins
or
get
guys
Jeff
get pulled out in
Hoffman.
the middle of the game.
Yeah. Yeah, Jeff
Lars
Hoffman
Nootbaar going to the Diamondbacks.
Yeah, I know. Like the Diamondbacks, like, it's
Casey Mize, Gage Workman, and Robbie Ray going to the Padres.
I couldn't believe that. First of all, I couldn't believe the Giants traded Robbie Ray to a interdivision rival.
How about Adley Rutschman going from the Orioles to the Red Sox, going in the same division?
That's insane to me.
Yeah, that would have been unheard of.
And the Red Sox gave up. I mean, the rival executives and the talk online has been the Red Sox gave up a lot for him.
Yeah, they did. It was I have it right here. The Red Sox acquired Adley Rutschman, Jake Rogers, two catchers, weirdly enough, and cash. In return, the Orioles received right-handed pitcher Anthony Ayenson, right-handed pitcher Kyson Witherspoon, outfielder Endy Azakar, catcher Carlos Narvaez, and a player to be named later.
Yeah, and I'm not going to pretend to know these guys, but the reactions have been shocked. And I mean, of course, I guess the Red Sox had to overpay to get the Orioles to trade in their division. Someone who only a few years ago was supposed to be this like cornerstone of their next successful era. It was going to be like Rutschman and Jackson Holiday, selling out Camden Yards for 10 years.
Well, I mean, Marcelo Meyer getting traded from the Red Sox, he was supposed to be a foundational piece for them. Luis Arraez getting traded again He is now on the Phillies.
So
I mean, they have to go for it because
so
they're
the
getting
Philly.
so
So
old.
I was texting with my buddy Al Mariani today, who's a big Phillies fan. He's really excited about this trade. And he thinks he's a missing piece. That being said, the Phillies have to shuffle around their entire lineup and infield. So Bryce Harper is moving back to the outfield for the first time in 4 years.
Yeah.
And they're going to ease him into it. So they're going to have, I think, Matt, is it Boehm play, or Alex Boehm play first, and
Yeah.
then Trey Turner's moving to third. Their previous second baseman, his name escapes me, is moving to short, and then Arise is playing second.
Yeah.
It's
That's a lot. That's a lot of moving parts.
But you're right. The Phillies are so old; they're so expensive. They have to go for it. They like it's now or never. Because even if they win the World Series this year, they're probably still going to have to like sell off pieces at this point.
Mm.
But yeah, it was quite a day. It was quite a day for Major League Baseball, and I don't know. There's something about the MLB trade deadline that is so fun, so stressful. Again, my team has not been buyers in quite a while now. I guess since 2021. It's funny, Kevin. Like we talk about, Cubs and Sox trade deadline partners, and we could talk about the who won the Eloy and Dylan Cease trade for Jose Quintana and all that. But I think because I saw Craig Kimbrell pitch this week for the Rays, so the White Sox actually chased him out of the league again because he had a pretty bad outing, and then the Rays DFA'd him right after the game. So I was thinking back to how excited I was to get Craig Kimbrell from the Cubs in 2021, but how also upset I was to see Nick Madrigal go to the Cubs. And that is, I don't know if any trade has worked out worse for both teams.
Yeah, seriously.
I can't believe that. How
Nick Madrigal couldn't stay healthy with the Cubs at
Madrigal
all.
couldn't stay healthy, and Kimbrell just immediately sucked. He just was not good on that Sox team. Well, he was so good on the Cubs that year.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's a fun one. So yeah, we didn't have any Cubs and Sox trades this year because both teams are buyers for the first time in 20 years.
They've shown more of an openness to trading with each other over the past like decade or so. There have been some other deals too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's good. It's fun to talk about the rivalry because they're in the same city, but reality is they're two separate major league teams. They're not in the same division, at least not yet. We'll see what happens after this lockout. And they should trade with each other if they think there's a match.
Yeah. I mean, if teams can trade within their division, I mean, why not? Just because they're in the same city.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm looking over all the other trades. I mean, there's a lot of small ones. The Rays getting Freddie Peralta was a good one.
The Yankees bringing in some reinforcements with Elio Ramos,
Yeah.
and they acquired someone else. Who was that? Oh, Luis Garcia Jr.
Yeah.
from the Nationals.
Oh, I'm seeing that
Tyler
one of the
Mahle.
yeah. I'm seeing one of the that catcher Jake Rogers, who was in the Adley Rushman deal. The Orioles just got him from the Tigers like 3 days ago.
Oh, okay.
So he was he's been moved around. So there's been a lot of that. There's been a lot of there's been a lot of prospect moving and everything. So it was a fun day today. I'm gonna give I'm gonna do an early beef rating, Kevin. I'm going to give the White Sox trade deadline, a solid 3.5 beefs out of 5. Totally whelmed.
Yes.
It's a good, juicy, dipped Italian beef, but it's also maybe slightly dry. Okay. I've had better, Kevin.
Yeah.
I've had slightly better, but I've had worse.
Italian beef. Yeah.
Yeah,
for sure. I'd give the Cubs like a 4.5 Italian beefs out of 5.
That's a good Italian beef.
Yeah, that's a good Italian beef. That's like a very satisfying Italian beef. Nice and juicy and like just the right amount of au jus, but like maybe the bread is just a little too hard.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah. But this is a nice meaty trade deadline. And I'm very happy with it. Obviously we'll see how it pans out. Only time will tell if these trades were the right ones or if it wasn't really worth it. But I'm hopeful so far.
Well,
So
we're very fortunate, Kevin, to be in the year 2026 and be able to get two trade deadlines in one year because we're going to get this one, and then in December we're going to get one before the day before the lockout happens.
that's probably true. That's
Yeah,
probably true. That's gonna be a crazy day.
that's going to be a
Uh,
crazy day because it happened a few years ago, and that was also a crazy day.
yes. Oh God, it's gonna be stressful. Just come to an agreement, please. That's all I ask.
I know. It's
I can't go a season without baseball.
I I know. Let's both teams have being competitive, and who knows what's going to happen in October. But then, like, you know, then we're not going to have baseball for half a year to a year. I I I don't have hope. We'll talk about it at the end of the season. I'm feeling pretty pessimistic
Well,
about
won't somebody please
this
think
year.
of the children?
Won't somebody please think of the poor Chicago sports fans that have suffered with their teams for the last 100+ years?
He's talking about us. He's referring to us.
Yes, yes, I
Yes.
am.
Yes. All right. Well, on that note, we will move along to our baseball at the movies segment this week. This week, we are looking at Hardball. Hardball was released in 2001. It stars Keanu Reeves as Connor O'Neill, Diane Lane as Elizabeth Wilkes, John Hawkes as Tiki Tobin, and Michael B. Jordan as Jamal. The synopsis of this movie: Connor, Keanu Reeves, is a ticket scalper, gambler, and now Little League coach for a ragtag team of kids in one of the toughest parts of Chicago. He's no role model, but his buddy Jimmy won't help him pay off his gambling debts unless Connor coaches Jimmy's corporately sponsored team. Surprising even himself, Connor becomes attached to his players and to their attractive school teacher, Diane Lane, and drawn into their tough and sometimes tragic lives. Some interesting facts about this movie. This was the feature film debut as a named character from Michael B. Jordan.
Which is funny
And
because
this,
you list him like high up in the cast. He doesn't actually have a huge role in this movie, but that
he
happens when somebody gets famous. They kind of go back to their early work and try to push their name up the list a little bit.
Yeah, they get moved up on IMDb a little bit. And it's funny too because he's not in the movie poster for this movie. And the reason for that is because his character, like, sorry if you haven't seen it, spoilers. His character, they find out, is ineligible for the team and he leaves the team. Well, apparently they filmed that. They did all of his scenes before they took the picture for the poster. And Michael B. Jordan is not on the poster for that reason, even though he is
That's
in this
so
movie.
sad. That's
Yeah.
I'm imagining being a child actor and getting like this big break in a Keanu Reeves movie and then like not being on the poster and all the other kids. Yeah, that's sad.
Yeah. And then this film was actually released on September 10th, 2001. So the day before 9/11. Just an
Yeah.
interesting little tidbit.
Kevin, you forgot one other important cast member of this movie.
Oh, yes. And Sammy Sosa does make a brief cameo in a scene that was actually filmed at, do you know where it was filmed?
Yeah, where?
That was filmed at Tiger Stadium, the old Tiger Stadium in Detroit.
Interesting.
Yeah,
I
before it was
noticed
torn
in the
down.
movie that they mentioned that they're seeing Sammy Sosa, but they never say like where, and like they
Where?
don't show a lot of definitely wasn't Wrigley. I knew
No,
that.
it definitely wasn't Wrigley. No, that was shot at Tiger Stadium in Detroit. And as
Tiger
for
Stadium, like the old Tiger Stadium, like was that still in when didn't Comerica open in 2000? So like was this like
yeah,
after Comerica had opened and they used Tiger Stadium still? That's fun.
yeah. Well, Tiger Stadium stood there for like a decade before they
Wow.
tore it
Yeah,
down. Yeah, so I think they just used it for like stuff like this pretty
that's
much and just
cool.
like as an attraction. Yeah. And as for Rotten Tomatoes, this film received a 42% critic score and a 70% audience score. Um, I I actually really enjoyed this movie. It is sad. I won't deny it's sad. It's definitely more for like adults than I would say kids. It does have some very hard scenes. I wouldn't
Sure, yeah.
necessarily recommend showing this to your child unless they're like older and they can understand the more like dramatic concepts. Um, but that being said, I love Keanu Reeves as an actor, and I think this movie, it's like it's very him, but it's also very different for his typical roles, I think. And like I don't know, it's I think it touches on so many important issues like race and socioeconomic status and gangs and just keeping kids safe.
Well, and the
Because
power of like what something like baseball could do to kids like that. Yeah, absolutely.
right, and especially baseball has always had a bit of a race, discrepancy. It doesn't it appeals to certain minorities, but then you look at like how many black players are in the league, and that number has fallen. It's been up in the past like 2 years, but before that it was falling for a bit. At one point, I think it was like around 20%, and now it's like under 10.
Yeah.
So I think this movie is important for those reasons to show what it's like to try to like be on a baseball team, but also growing up in the projects, not having much money and having, violence and drugs and all of these things around that could potentially serve as obstacles, to whatever they're trying to achieve in their life. Um, but yeah, yeah, it's a very adult movie. I remember like I think like my babysitter at the time got me this movie as like a Christmas gift, and she was like, "By the way, you can't quote this movie at all. Like, don't swear, because I got you this." It's like, okay, fine. But yeah, no, it's just it's a I don't know, it's a good movie. I think it's entertaining. It really keeps you in it. The ending is sad. I mean, I guess whatever. It came out 25 years ago. We can say what the ending was.
It's also based on
Uh,
true events too. Like, yeah,
is
it's
it?
I that's what I thought I read. I
Oh, really?
I could be wrong, but
I didn't. But
it's based
anyway,
on the book. Yeah.
okay, at the end of the movie where when G Baby gets shot and killed, I mean that scene just gets me like every time.
Yeah. That's it's yeah. Anyway, you can give your rating and I'll
Uh,
say my
as
piece.
for the movie, you know, is it the most well-made movie? Probably not. Um, but I really like the message and I really like the story of it. And it's just always one of those movies that anytime it's been on or, I have an opportunity to watch it, I do. Um, I would honestly give it like a 4.5, out of five Italian beefs. And that might be high, but that's okay. I just think it's an excellent film, and it's worth watching. But if you're gonna watch it with a kid, make sure they're older and
Yeah,
can
yeah.
handle it.
And I just, listen, I don't disagree with your rating. I just, this is not a rewatchable movie for me. I actually forgot it's actually the only thing I remember about this movie after seeing it in theaters as like a 10-year-old um and crying on the way home um was like the sadness of it, but it actually was funnier than I thought, especially near the beginning. My feeling about this movie was that it's kind of a mediocre 2000s movie, but because movies just kind of suck nowadays, a mediocre 2000s movie hits way differently now than it did in the 2000s. It's like just every mediocre 2000s movie is kind of better than a lot of movies now. So it was good. And yeah, Keanu Reeves is great. Diane Lane is great. Um, all the reasons that you said about what the movie tries to say and about underprivileged kids and what the power of baseball can bring and everything. And then yeah, G Baby's death is just like one of the saddest things. And I remember as a 10-year-old like being really confused on like how they show us at bat and then they show us how he died later and then they show us what happened at the at bat where he won the game. And I thought that was a really nice piece of storytelling that really drove home how sad it was and
Right.
everything. So
It
I
makes
thought
that
that was,
scene so much sadder.
yeah. It's because it would have been one thing if they just like showed everything chronologically. It still would have been sad, but I think the way that it's like, oh, we got you once, we're gonna get you again, almost.
Right.
It was, yeah, it was well done. I'm not gonna go as high as you, just purely because I just it's I don't know if I'm ever gonna want to watch this again. Like outside of like years and years from now, I'm gonna go with like 3.75 out of 4 Italian Beefs. I think it's a good movie. I think it has a lot to say. I think it's a little corny in that great mid 2000s or early 2000s way. Um, I just think I don't mind sad movies, and especially like I can rewatch sad movies all the time. This one is like just gets to the point of like it does its comedy bit, and then it just like takes a hard left into sad, and it's just tonally like not the most coherent for me.
Yeah.
But I did enjoy it, and again, if I will gladly take a mediocre 2000s movie over, you know, most movies now. So bring them on. But yeah, I'm glad it was on our list. I'm glad we got to rewatch it. It was a fun time. I mean, not a fun time. It was fun to go back to it. But not going to be adding it to my Blu-ray collection anytime soon, I don't think.
That's fair. That's fair. Yeah, it's I'm probably overhyping it a little bit. But you're right. It's not the most well-made movie, but it's a good message. That ending scene, I think they do that really well. And it just has those moments that like make you want to keep watching it. Uh, so yes, so that's Hardball. We're going to be taking a real turn in a different direction next week, as next week we will be taking a look at another Kevin Costner baseball movie, as we will be looking at For Love of the Game on next week's baseball
By
movie
Sam
segment.
Raimi of Spider-Man fame.
Yes,
So that'll be fun.
I believe you when you say that.
I yes, trust me on that.
Yeah, I believe him when he says that. So stay tuned for that. That'll be an exciting review as well. But that will do it for our trade deadline episode of the Crosstown Baseball Podcast. Man, we had a lot to cover this week. There was a lot going on, but it should be an exciting stretch run here as we head down the last 2 months of the season. Before you know it, we're going to be playing playoff baseball, potentially on both sides of town.
I know. Listen, people, if a crosstown World Series ever came to fruition, and I'm not saying that's going to happen this year, uh, Kevin, we're gonna have to figure something out, because I think we're really friendly for this podcast, but we're gonna have to figure something out.
Yeah, if that ever happens, we might have to take a little hiatus during the World Series, and then maybe a hiatus for another week or two after that.
Right.
Yeah, we might have to do that, but we'll see. We'll see if the time comes. God, it would be awesome, but the city would burn,
I hope it happens in our lifetime. I really do.
and the Cubs win, obviously.
Well, I won't go that far, but
I will. Anyway, that'll do it for this episode of the Crosstown Baseball Podcast. Thanks so much for tuning in. Make sure to follow, like, subscribe on YouTube and Spotify. Give us a follow on Facebook and Instagram at Crosstown Baseball Podcast. He is Matt. I'm Kevin, and we will be back next week with an all-new episode of the Crosstown Baseball Podcast. So long, everyone, and remember, as always, go Cubs.
Go Sox.